Cloud Atlas hits theaters October 26th. Even though I'm a total bookworm, somehow I'd managed to never hear about the book until the release of the trailer. The trailer promised a film that was 1 part adventure and 2 parts crazy, so instantly I was hooked. But as per usual, I set out to read the book first. So for those of you who, like me, didn't know, Cloud Atlas consists of 6 stories that take place in different time periods and locations. All 6 stories are loosely connected in a way where certain characters make reappearances either as aged from their previous story or through reincarnation. For example, in the second story, Letters from Zettelheim, the main character writes letters to his friend Sixsmith, only to be followed in the third story, Half-Lives, the first Louisa Ray mystery, where Sixsmith appears as a side character. Every action in every story affects the next. Characters move throughout, trying to make peace with their mistakes even though they don't remember them. No matter who they are reborn as throughout the different stories, they have a similar trait or a mark that defines them. For example, it is mentioned many times certain characters all have a comet-shaped birthmark. But what is Cloud Atlas? The back of my novel describes the book as a mind-bending philosophical and scientific speculation in the tradition of Umberto Eco and Philip K. Dick. The result is a brilliantly original fiction that reveals how desperate people connect, how their fates intertwine, and how their souls drift across time like clouds across the sky. Pretty interesting, right? Now here's the catch. Not only are the characters connected, but the way the stories are told is a little bit different. Each of the stories cuts off, leaving the reader wanting to know what happens, and each story stops at a more interesting and frustrating point. Some of these endings are kind of like cliffhangers, but others just seem to fade away or stop without leaving any tension. Each narrative is subtly building on top of the previous, dragging you deeper into the novel. The style reminded me of Calvino's If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. To explain that book briefly, each chapter is either the first chapter of a different story or a short chapter following the main character, only known as the reader, who is trying to hunt down the ending of the first story and every story he encounters after. Calvino is trying to make a comment on the life of us, the reader, and how we react and read a novel. It's extremely postmodern, and I still haven't decided if I like it or not. Unlike Calvino's novel, Cloud Atlas is focused on the narratives and not the stylization, and thankfully does offer you the conclusion to the stories you have previously read. The 6th story, Sluice's Crossing and Everything After, runs without interruption, and then you go backwards through the stories you have read. Think of it like a nesting doll. So, you can understand why I'm a little bit concerned with how this novel is going to translate into film. Since its premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival, from all of the reviews and responses that I have read, people either really liked it or absolutely hated it. From reading the novel and watching the trailer, I'm extremely excited, but like all adaptations, no matter how great, some of the original magic will be lost. Look at The Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. Certain aspects of those stories went to the chopping board, but still, I do believe they were successful adaptations. For me, what made Cloud Atlas such an interesting read was the differences in style and tone. David Mitchell masters each of the genres in the book that he touches. The Pacific Journal of Adam Ewing and the Letters from Zettelheim are both period pieces. Half-Lives is a cheesy detective pulp novel, The Ghastly Ordeal of Timothy Caboche is a dark comedy, and Horizon of Somni 451 is a dystopic science fiction novel similar to Brave New World, and finally, Sluice's Crossing and Everything After is a post-apocalyptic fantasy-like quest. And it's amazing how well all of these stories manage to blend and how characters manage to float across the story like clouds. Their stories forever entwined and dependent on their actions in previous lives. When I finally see the film, I'll do a proper comparison between book and film, where I will go into a more in-depth analysis of both versions. But until that point, if you're interested in a thoughtful but entertaining read, I recommend you pick up a copy of the book. Or, if you want a good yet confusing introduction, check out the trailer. Cloud Atlas is one of those books that only gets better as you reread it, and definitely deserves its spot on my list of top books of all time.
I believe there is another world waiting for us, Sixsmith. A better world. And I'll be waiting for you there.